Hi everyone. So first of all, I apologize for the clickbait title of the lecture. I thought it would be good to try to get people's attention. You can tell me later if that worked or not. So I think like one of the things that I'm kind of interested in, like, where do you guys work and what the kind of the crowd is? Like, how many of you guys work in PR agencies? Can you like raise your hand? Cool. How many of you guys do PR but do like in-house but work solely on PR? Okay. How many of you guys do PR amongst other things for the company you work with? Okay, cool. And how many of you guys work in startups? Okay, wow, good. So I guess like I'm gonna be mostly speaking from my experience. So my experience is mostly working with tech startups. So I apologize if things get too technical at times. If you have any questions, just let me know. So a very quick background about me. So my name is Barbara. I was actually born in Brazil. So I grew up in Rio, where I studied journalism and social communications. I worked in PR for a total of like 4 months. So my experience is limited in solely PR. I was an intern and I had a pretty awful time in an agency where they mostly just told me to call people all the time and ask if they had received some sort of like package that we had sent them. So you'd be calling like journalists and they like cover all kinds of media and being like, oh hey, we just sent the new toys from McDonald's. I'm not sure if you're gonna be covering that. They'd be like I'm busy. So that was my PR experience. So I sort of like very easily and very quickly migrated into like digital marketing, which was sort of the thing that I was more interested, like doing SEO, so still doing writing, but doing stuff more focused around numbers. I went on to do my master's in London King's in Digital Coach and Society, which is an awful name, but what basically means is it's a study of tech, but in a humanities point of view. So it's like how people use tech and how people interact with tech and how tech is now changing people's lives. I went on from there to work at a company called Her, which Matthias was calling Grindr for lesbians, which is an awful way to describe it, but what we like to say is like Pinterest, but you know. Yeah. No, Mom, you know, the place to go to look like ideas for the house, that's it, but with women. So yeah, and then afterwards I was working for a fintech app called Parity, which is an HSBC-backed app that helps people clear their debts. As you can see, they're very similar products. People clearing their debts and Grindr. So right now I'm working as a consultant in Amsterdam for various companies, tech companies, doing sort of like growth, product marketing, and data roles. And so this is like sort of what I want to talk about, like how to use those kind of skills, but to doing PR. Because as you know, I was in a small team doing growth and then doing all kinds of growth, and PR was a great way to get users, and to get users when you've got like no budget, right? It's basically just like bugging people over and over, right? Until something goes in. Yeah?
Kinda, yeah.
So, summary of what I'll be talking about. So I'm mostly talking regarding pitching ideas. So I'm not talking about like crisis management or brand awareness or brand positioning or any kind of that. So the first part, I'll talk about sourcing story ideas. So like how to think of pitches that are going to be relevant for the audience that you're trying to reach. Then sourcing relevant authors, so who is the writer and the journalist that would be interested in covering that kind of topic. And then utilizing your own data. So if you've got a B2C product, you've got a B2B product, you've got user data, you've got consumer data, how can you use that to think of like relevant content that's going to be covered by the news and also be related to your brand. And then wrapping up. So first of all, story ideas. So I often would either be publications my users are at, publications that my peers read, in that case it would be tech press, or publications that investors read. So like Entrepreneur or like sort of Crunchbase kind of press. And I was always trying to think of ideas that would be relevant for those publications. Because like the reality is there's very few things that my company is going to do that's actually going to be newsworthy. Like maybe we'll do a really cool product that's going to be covered by tech, or we're going to have like an amazing partnership that's going to be covered by financial press. But on a day-to-day, there's not that much that happens that news and publications will be interested in. So this is the sort of thing that I would do. I would be like, oh, what would TechCrunch write about? Let me try to think. Or what will the Financial Times want to write about this app? So it can be quite hard. So basically, I'm trying to put in ways like what are scalable ways that you can have new ideas, like something that you can do that you're gonna get results on a fixed basis, and those results are gonna be completely relevant for what you want to pitch. So this is where I apologize if things get too technical. By all means, please raise your hands. So basically, one of the things that I would do, I would work with the developers to mine social websites like Facebook and Twitter to get the stories that were doing well. So if people API is it's hard to explain, but it's almost like a documentation that softwares we use to get information from the backend. So for example, if you open Uber and you see that your car is just around the corner, it's showing a map, right? And that map wasn't done by Uber, it was done by Google. And the way that they do that is that they connect to the Google Maps API. So that allows you to get different information from different sources. And in the case here, you can get basically everything you see on the front end of a website. So when you see on Twitter and you see a tweet has been published with an URL, and you see that link has the title of the story. So it was a story in the Financial Times that says people are spending more on food than average, and then you're gonna have the title, you're gonna have the image that goes the title, maybe it's someone in the supermarket. And then you're gonna have, the description of the title, and you're gonna have who posted that, and what it was, and what was the character count, and when was it posted. So everything you can get from the front end, you can normally get it from the API as well. So basically, you can see that pretty much every social media network is gonna have an API that's gonna be available. You can get this kind of information. So for example, if you use a Twitter client like Tweetbot, or if you ever use one of those, or if you've used TweetDeck, or you've used Hootsuite, they all connect to social media APIs to be able to that work. So it's a way that, yeah.
I was just wondering, do you need a specific tool in order to get this information out, or is it just available if you know how to find it?
Yeah, so it's freely available. So the way that the companies do that is so people can do software that works with the companies. So for example, if you do Facebook ads, then you've got all these tools that allow you to do ads, to schedule the ads and to decide who the ads get shown. And the way they do that is they communicate with the Facebook ads API. So APIs are freely available because they really add value to the whole company, right? Because you can allow to have different applications that work with them, and that works for B2B companies, and that works for other companies. The only thing they need is I'm not a developer, so I've got a basic knowledge of APIs and how they work. So normally what I would do is you gotta understand what the documentation has. So I'm gonna just show an example here of this is it's the part of a Python script to get some Twitter information. So you look at this and you think what the hell am I gonna do with this? I don't even know how this works. But it's quite interesting because with the script, you can get all the URLs of accounts you've selected. So for example, if I'm trying to think of stories about finance to pitch for my client Parity, then I can use all these different accounts that are on Twitter, right? The Daily Mail Money, the Financial Times, fintech publications, and I can select all of them. And then what the script is going to give me is going to give me all the URLs that were posted by those accounts. And I can use to be in a specific time frame as well. So say I want to think of stories for Easter. So I'm give me all the URLs that were posted around Easter last year. Give me what the URL's title was. Give me, which will be people spend more in Easter than they spend in Christmas. I don't think that's true, but let's say that's a story. The subtitle, which is research shows that the Brits are less money after Brexit with Christmas. That sentence makes no sense, but And then you're gonna have the image of the article, and you're gonna get all the likes that the tweet got, all the retweets that got. So in the end, you can just get a spreadsheet of all this information of these accounts, and then look, last Easter, what were the stories that were the most popular? and you can think ahead of like story pitches that you can work related to that. So you can see like, oh, okay, it will be Easter, people will be around, will be interested in like consumer behavior studies, or people will be interested in personal finance and those kind of things. So you can do all of that with like social media APIs. And you know, if you've got a developer in-house who will be interested in this, then it's a good way to do it. But like otherwise, you know, there's a lot of tools out there that make money out of using APIs. So it's like they're user-facing tools. They're quite easy to use, and you can just like check them out. And like Buzzsumo is one of them that shows like you can like search for a topic, and it's gonna show you like engagements and shares and likes and all those kind of things. And there's like a multiple of them, right? Because it's such an easy way to make money. Like you build a tool after like a social media's API, and then you sell it to businesses, and boom, that works. And yeah, it's a very good idea, because if you already know what did well with a certain publication, a specific time frame, you can really leverage that to be like, you know, we saw this article that you did at this time of the year. We've got something similar that can really add to that. And it's a good way to make your story relevant and, you know, have a hook. So yeah, I think using these kind of tools are a very good way to figure out how you can leverage what the trends are in the market to what your brand does. If anyone has any questions, just raise your hands. And then I think like, okay, cool. So I've got like a story pitch, you know, I've got this really cool research that shows that Easter is more expensive for the British people than Christmas. Like, who is gonna want to cover that? And I think, you know, I think that's the part where if you've got PR experience and you've been working in it for that client, or if you've been working with similar clients, then like you've got this. Like, you're not gonna want to need to research authors, right? To know there's gonna be John at the like Financial Times that's gonna cover the story, because he always covers them. But if you don't know, if you like in my case, if you were working for Grindr for Women and you've gone on to like helping people clear their debt, then you're like, who is gonna write about this? And then again, I think it's like the kind of thing that would always get stuck into like a cycle, you know, like just Googling like ad eternum, like, you know, like saving money, financial Britain, or and all those kind of like search terms, like saving money in guardian.co.uk. And you're like writing down this super disorganized spreadsheet, like, you know, like the journalist names, and then searching for them on Twitter, and you have like this super complicated like way to try to find them. And it can be like hard. And if you want to do this, if you are doing like freelancing and you've got like all these different clients in different countries, then it's gonna be very hard for you to do that every time, right? At least it was for me. So again, like that stuff is like available at APIs. Like a lot of news organizations have APIs. So here's like an example of some APIs. The New York Times has an API. The Guardian has the open platform, which is pretty good. There's the News API as well, which is like a simple API that will like aggregate news from like pretty much like all kinds of like news organizations. So like the way that they do this is so that you can, you know, like use them for like research. So you've got like academic research, and you want to see how like the coverage of like refugees has increased throughout like years, then like it's probably like the best way to do this, because then you can search for the tags and you can see how the number of articles published per month has varied and all those kind of things. But again, you know, it also is very good for the publications, because it allows you to build apps for them, or it allows you to build software that works for them. And for them to like to have content being syndicated and around the world and all those kind of things. So a very like quick example of like the kind of stuff that you can request from like the News API. So you can see like, you know, you're gonna get the source, TechCrunch, and then you're gonna get the author, you get the title, a description, and URL. And then you can, if you can write, you know, give me like all articles from TechCrunch that are about fintech that were published in this time frame, that's about, you know, raising rounds, and give me the authors that wrote about them. Then that already saves you like loads of time, and you can just go straight to that person and like bug them incessantly until they write about you. Okay, 2 questions. Yes.
Did you use SQL for this, or did you just use a spreadsheet?
So yeah, this is a JSON. You can just return them in a spreadsheet as well, and you can even use like there's like other services that allow you to search for like names on LinkedIn, and like there's like to search for emails from those clients. So you can pretty much like build all this stuff to really try to automate this as much as you can. There was someone else with a question. Yes.
Hi, Julian. I work for Next Web. I have a question. How do you see like the coming automated PR with the coming GDPR legislation? Now this is very nice. APIs, making calls, information. In the future, this might be illegal.
Well, I mean, as far as I know, GDPR is not really going to touch this because it's mostly about like user information. This is just, you mean regarding the author name being available?
Or my cold calling authors might not be illegal.
Well, I guess
they need to give permission to email you.
I mean, I don't think that GDPR is gonna affect that. I think it's gonna affect like news organizations in the way they make money mostly, because they're gonna really struggle with the cookie data and advertising data. I think the news organizations are still gonna want this kind of information to be available, so they can have like people build software off them. But yeah, my knowledge on GDPR, like I've been trying to catch up, but I feel like it's all coming like, so GDPR is a legislation that's starting next year that's to protect users' privacy, that's gonna work for every European citizen. So the main problem, for like publications is gonna be that it's gonna make harder for advertisers to store information on the users that's accessing them. So it's gonna make it harder for advertisers to like track results. An okay explanation. Okay. Okay, cool. So another way to use APIs. So I think they're very useful to try to understand the environment and the market that you're trying to publish your article in. So again, like you can use it for the social media APIs, you can also use that for the news APIs. So there you go, like say you've got a client that's a health insurance provider. You can get like every article on health insurance that was published in The Guardian, every author that wrote about them, and how many times they wrote about them. In what sections were the article posted in? Were they in lifestyle? Were they in business? Were they in health? How big was the article? Do you want to pitch like an op-ed kind of thing? Do you want to pitch like a small story? Do you want to be a part of like, an observer kind of article that's a really long form? What were the health insurance providers that were mentioned in the article, How are your competitors doing PR-wise? What time of the year do health insurance articles get published? Is it like in the beginning of the year when people want to switch health insurance? Or is it like in the middle of the year? So these are all things that you can look from the API, and it's really going to help you just understand the general market that you're handling with. So not everyone's gonna have developers available, or you won't know how to code. But there's other ways to try to find relevant authors that don't involve you just wasting a lot of time researching stuff. And I think that's one of the most important things that I've learned working in small startups, is that you've got limited time. Like, okay, yeah, I can work 10 hours a day, but I'm still gonna work 10 hours a day tops. I'm not gonna work 28 hours a day because that's not possible, as you may know. So I think like one of the most important things is like just prioritizing and then trying to find out, what are the things that are gonna possibly bring the biggest results. What are the things that only I can do, and what are the things that I can possibly like outsource. And I think a way you can do this, like you can just go on Fiverr, there's like all these people who just charge to do like lead generation, email collection, like just be like, find me the emails of everyone that's worried about health insurance. And it's gonna cost like, 20 euros. And it's better than you wasting your time. And you can use your time, to network with journalists and to meet new people and to, do the things that only you can do, that you can never outsource. Okay, so the last part that I'll cover will be like, if you've got like a product and the product has data, how can you use that data to think of story pitches? They're like about your brand. So coming up with exclusive and newsworthy researches about your audience, making the content about you, because I think that's something hard as well. You can have a really cool story idea about Christmas and Easter, but how are you gonna make that about your company? So I've got this thing here, which I'll try to play, which is something Matthias loves, which is the organizer of the event, so I put it for him. This is this is a video that we did when I was at the Grinder for Women. Thanks again.
It's kinda.
With it's the last event I speak. So it was so basically what we did is we did a partnership with Wait for It, Grinder, and we both utilized our own data to show how women and men using dating apps differently. So this was on BuzzFeed, and it did really, really well because like if you ever get anything on BuzzFeed for a B2C product, like that's gold mine. Like you should totally go for that. So let me see how I played this. Nope. Does anyone work in tech here? Matthias, can you? Oh, there you go. Yeah, cool. So that's one example that we could use your own data, which was really good. So here's another example as well. Like we did so Parity, which a money management website. We got a lot of like financial data on users' transactions. So we used that to calculate how much credit card companies were profiting during Christmas time. So it was a really cool research. Really brushed off my quantitative and qualitative skills of this. So yeah, and another example as well was like a survey that we did on how women felt about pride for the Washington Post. Again, like if you don't have user data, you can still survey the people who use your product and try to make a story out of it. So like to finish off, I think that coding and data can be a really great starting point. It can be an awesome way for you to automate a few things that you do and try to pinpoint, relevant story pitches and relevant authors. But like in the end, you still need to have that relationship. If you want to get a really big press, you're not going to get a TechCrunch by just like automating a bunch of emails and send it to everyone. I've tried; it doesn't work. You need to suck up a bit and get the relationship going, and then you can use that for next client, the next client, and the next client. So that's it. That's my email. So that's my website. If you want to go there, my email's there. Or if you want to reach me IRL, I'll be here. And if you talk to me about a startup because I like talking about startups. And that's it. Thanks. I guess if anyone has any questions. You got everything. That's amazing. Thank you. Great crowd.
No, I'm just saying it's hard to know where to start, because I have to digest what you just said. I worked there for 10 years, but this is just amazing.
Oh.
This can completely change how we do PR. I mean, it has already changed. We just have to teach ourselves now and adapt to this new reality. That's amazing. Thank you. Muito obrigado.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess I have also grown up exploring PR and communications, and at one point my job title was growth hacker, and then it was PR, and at one point I wasn't using analytics and data at all, and another point it was all about it. So it's it's a bit of a coming together for me, and I guess I'm surprised that there are PR agencies that are not adapting growth hacking skills, and I think it's still like a bit of a mystified word. And I think it's as much of a mindset as anything else. So
I think just trying to think of ways to automate that you can use your time the most valuable way possible. At least that's how I see it.